All right, joining me now to discuss all of this is Arizona State Treasurer Jeff DeWitt and Georgetown professor and author Michael Eric Dyson. His latest book is Tears We Cannot Stop, a sermon to white America. Gentlemen, great to see you. Thanks for coming in. Treasurer, first to you. What do you think of these CEOs and their announcements?
Oh, is that to me? I'm sorry. I thought that was to the other guy.
No, it's for Jeff. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. First I will say that hate, bigotry, and racism have no place in America, and diversity is our strength. It's what makes America great, is that we are a melting pot of every race, religion, orientation. That is our strength and what we need to carry forward. So everyone should be denouncing these groups like the KKK and the white supremacy groups, the neo-Nazi. They are awful and despicable and have no place in America. And I look at these, I look at, when you look at groups departing the Manufacturing Council, it makes me sad that they don't want a voice in this discussion. I would think that if people don't like the way the discussion is going, they would line up to get more involved, not be less involved. And so I think it's sad that people are removing themselves from the discussion. And part of it, I think, is because the discussion is being so politicized. But there should be nothing political about the fact that hate, bigotry, and racism have no place in America.
Do you think that these CEOs and their companies should be attacked by the president on Twitter for their decisions?
Well, again, I think a lot of people are disappointed in the fact that they're choosing to remove themselves from such an important discussion instead of trying to be involved. I mean, what our country needs
is one thing, but do you
is
think
to come
that President
together.
Trump
We
should
need to
attack
come
the drug
together
maker,
in times like this.
Attack Kenneth Frazier on Twitter for his decision?
Well, it's certainly nothing I would have done.
Okay.
But again, it's just the fact that we need to come together and we need everyone to be involved in the discussion to figure out finally how to solve this for our country and move forward as a united people.
Michael, yesterday you said, I want to read you know what you said, but for our viewers, what you said in response to the president's remarks. This was after his kind of clarification, his clarifying, or as he would say, his additional remarks that he made about what happened in Charlottesville. You said, the fact that it took him 2 days to be forced and coerced into saying this, it rings false. And you also said these are hollow words. The president, maybe not responding directly to you, but did respond to that sentiment in a tweet saying that the hashtag fake news will never be satisfied. Truly bad people, he wrote. Michael, is that the case?
Well, the case is that we know who the bad person is. It's the person at the head of the food chain, so to speak. In disagreement with my fellow guest here, respectfully, when you're in a marriage and you say a domineering male who is abusing his partner and she should stay to try to argue her case or leave, the divorce is necessary. These people who are on the Manufacturing Council understand that if they stay, they're not part of any significant conversation. His daughter can't stop him from tweeting. His daughter can't move the needle of his own conscience. What will these, if you will, temporary advisors to the president do? They make a bigger splash, a bigger echo of their conscience by removing themselves from this council. They have no power, they have no strength, they have no influence. And what they are suggesting is that their removal from this particular, if you will, atmosphere of bigotry is a bigger statement about the values that they embrace and significantly enhance their bottom line. And the president himself is a radically immature person who is incapable of engaging people who disagree with him. He's attacking Ken Frazier. Why then did you have him on your council if what he was doing is what you claimed he was doing? So now your immaturity manifests itself, and now we see why these, I think, CEOs, if they're responsible to the bottom line, to fiscal integrity, and to the broader, if you will, moral sweep of this nation, must disavow this president and distance themselves from this acrimonious bigotry that we see manifest.
Treasurer, is the president's anger here at all misplaced? I mean, he's attacking the news media for covering bipartisan outrage over his failure initially to condemn Nazi ideology. Is his anger misplaced when he says that the fake news is never going to be satisfied?
Let's not forget that the first response the president had on the same day of these awful, tragic events was that he denounced all forms of hate and bigotry. He said that. He was criticized because, the media's criticized him. He didn't name the groups, but he did come out and denounce all forms of hate and bigotry.
It wasn't the media. It was elected Republicans who said that he did not go far enough. Those are the people that you should be responding to. What do you say to your fellow Republicans? Lindsey Graham. I mean, I'm not even going to go through the list. Cory Gardner. All of them saying the president did not go far enough in denouncing hate groups. What do you say to them then?
Well, I say that I don't know if any of us can ever go far enough in denouncing hate and bigotry. I don't think there is a far enough. The fact that there's a single person left in this country that believes those awful things, we all need to be denouncing that. So I don't know that any of us can go far enough.
Okay, so the president did go far enough then in his initial statement, correct?
I'm saying I don't know that any of us can ever go far enough, because we have to fight like crazy as a country to come together and push these hateful ideologies like the KKK and like the white supremacists out of our country. We've moved. We should have moved past this as a country. We need to come together, and there's never a time that we can ever say that we've gone far enough. There's no such thing as going far enough.
If the president had said what you just said, if the president said what you just said, then that would be far enough, because he would, number one, enunciate clearly what he is opposing. 2, articulate the groups that he is opposed to. 3, cite their vicious ideology in specific fashion, as he has warned us to do in other cases of terror. And then 4, caught in an act of domestic terrorism. His failure to do so suggests that he is incapable of imagining a country where the division of race is being fomented by the very bully pulpit that he occupies. So his lack of courage to say, look, this is wrong, this is what I think is wrong, this is what we got to do about it, is part of the failure of the moral imagination of this president. And let's be honest, since he tweets what's on his mind, since he says clearly all the time what's on his mind, that's not on his mind. He is not as disturbed by the acrimony, the bigotry, the hate that we see manifest in our country as many others are. And shame on him for that. And we got to stop making excuses, as our guest is making, for a president who's a fully grown man. Grow up, take responsibility for your actions. Republicans and conservatives are always telling us in this nation, pull yourself up by your bootstrap, be responsible for what you do, and yet you make excuse after excuse for a full-grown man who is intemperate and violates the fundamental principles of American democracy and decorum that should occupy that highest office in the land.
Treasure,
now, let me tell you something. I didn't hear myself making excuses for anybody, but I will tell you this, and the reason I agreed to come on the show and talk about this topic is that I know the president personally, and I know what's in his heart. And I know that he's a man who's a loving man who wants to bring the country together, and there is no racism in his heart. And it kills me to hear the people come on TV and say that he is what he is not. And I will tell you that he is not someone with hate in his heart, and he's not a racist. He wants to see opportunity for every American of every background in this country have the chance to succeed. That's what he is. He's a businessman first that wants to see jobs and the economy do better in this country. So that's why I agreed to come on this and talk about such a hard topic, is I know what is in his heart because I know this man, and he's a good man.
Well, this is what I wonder, though. You talk about
how he's not racist. Was that in his heart when he was prosecuting the birther assault upon Obama? Was that in his heart when he was making racist comments about the first black president of the United States of America? Was that in his heart when he attacked Mexicans as rapists? Was that in his heart when he has prosecuted a war against transgender people? So you say you know what's in his heart. It's not what his heart that makes a difference. It's what's on his mouth, and it's what's in his public policy and his public statements that make a difference here. It's not his personal sentiments and his emotions, which are private. It's his public expression of reprehensible emotions against vulnerable people. That's the problem we have with the president of the United States of America.
You're ignoring the countless times he's denounced those very things. You're ignoring that.
Ignoring the countless times he's denounced what?
That he's denounced racism and the times that he stood up for Americans of all backgrounds. You're announcing, you're ignoring all that.
I don't know if we would put it in the category of countless, though. We don't need to go back and relitigate how long it actually took Donald Trump to get to a place where he begrudgingly denounced David Duke and racists like him. I don't think we need to go back to that time. Okay, silence means agreement.
And that's the
Great.
point.
No,
okay, perfect.
He denounced it decades ago. He denounced it decades ago.
Look, I'm sorry. What, Jeff?
There are old interviews from Donald Trump from decades ago where he's denounced those very things. He's denounced it over and over.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that was 2016 when he refused to denounce it, saying I knew nothing
February
about
2016, he came on. But there are interviews from before that where he had already denounced it, and people forget.
There's also a tweet for everything that you can find on his Twitter feed that contradicts almost every position that the president takes on something today, and the White House tells us to believe what the president says today. So which one are we going to go with now, Jeff?
I'm sorry. Tell me what thing on the what tweet he made that does not denounce hate and bigotry in this country, because he has said so very clearly that that's where he stands on the issue.
I'm talking about.
What tweet has said the opposite?
Go back to the David Duke interviews. Go back to all the interviews he was asked during the election.
You just said he had tweeted something recently that said the
opposite.
opposite.
John Howman,
that's not the case.
if you want me to say this.
I'm not saying. I was talking about how there is on many issues that the president takes a stand on. Today, there is a tweet that contradicts it. It's like it's a constant segment in almost every news.
And we're told
to believe
what's
this is actually not a controversial. This is not what I'm saying is actually not a controversial thing. This is actually just fact checking. But I want to get one final question into both of you. I want to get one final question to both of you. Treasurer, why did the president, when you talk about how we need to bring the country together, right? You know what you say, you know that is in the president's heart. He's not racist. He has love in his heart, and he wants to bring everyone together. Why then, just days after this hit and run that killed this woman, why then did the president tweet? It has nothing to do with CNN, let's be honest. Why did the president tweet out an image of a train running over an image of a news organization like CNN? How does that bring the country together? They deleted it, so they obviously knew it was wrong. How does that bring the country together?
Well, again, I think some of it's just the frustration that no matter what statements he makes, it seems like there are people that are trying to politicize the issue, and no matter what he does, they want to attack him. And what we should be attacking are these groups, are these terrible, terrible groups that are perpetrating hate and bigotry in this country. That's where we need to focus our anger and our attacks. And the hyper-politicization of our society right now is what's tearing at the fabric. We need to come together. And so, I think that's some of these things may just be the anger of the American people. He didn't create that. I'm sure it was just a retweet someone else created. And I'm sure it has a whole bunch of retweets.
No, but it's his. Well, you and I retweet something, and it doesn't carry nearly the weight when a president retweets something.
I'm sorry, I'm answering a question because I haven't seen that. I don't know.
I can explain it exactly to you. It's a train, and it's hitting an image of a CNN image on a human's body. That's what he's doing. The White House now say they have deleted it because it was inadvertently posted and then deleted. That's my point. They realized something.
Well, if they've come out and they said if they came out and took care of it, then I think that answers itself.
Great, Michael. Final thought. In general, do you allow the possibility? Do you allow for the possibility that the president can evolve on the issue of race? A lot of folks allowed for the possibility of President Obama evolving on certain issues. Do you allow for the possibility of this president evolving on the issue of race?
The reason people believe that Obama could evolve on race is because Obama proved to be a highly intelligent, immensely cerebral, extraordinarily poetic president who was able to touch bases with common human beings in understanding their crisis and their predicament. So yes, even if you disagreed with him, he was a stable personality who was able to listen to the other side, reach across the aisle in order to try to achieve some kind of comity, some kind of balance in American politics. This president, as our guest has shown today by the excuses he's made for him, is a man who wants to traffic in excuse mongering, even as he excoriates those through the discourse of political correctness who he feels are sensitive to victims in this country. The bottom line is Donald Trump is not to be believed because he has exhibited no basic fundamental premise of human decency or political awareness of the other side. And those who are victims, he is a churlish, immature, preternaturally adolescent president who can't grow up. And we are seeing him throw a temper tantrum every morning when he gets on his Twitter and he just says whatever's on his mind. No discipline, no deferred gratification, just the immediacy of his belief. That is a danger not only for this country, but for the world. And certainly if we're talking about somebody who can lead us morally and politically down a pathway that would unite the races and those who are divided, he is certainly not the figure that we can trust.
So in short, Michael Eric Dyson does not leave open that possibility. I do want to make sure we point out the very important point here as I close, is that, Treasurer, I really appreciate your strong statement condemning these hate groups. That was an important point I want to make sure we have on there as we continue this discussion. Thank you both for coming on. It is not difficult to condemn these hate groups, as you hear right from the Treasurer and from Michael Eric Dyson. Great to see you both, gentlemen. Have a great day.